It's Wednesday, August 9th, and I'm your host, Paula Hersey. On today's show, we get ready for voting season with the town clerk, talk to the town council president, explore Vision 88 multi-use trail, and learn more about the One Cape Summit. First, let's start with some news you can use. On Tuesday, August 7th, at 3:45 p.m., a caller to the Barnstable Police Department reported a male subject tearing down flags at the First Responder Memorial Bridge located at the Route 6 overpass on Route 149 in West Barnstable. The subject was described as a white male in his 20s driving a tan in-color Toyota sedan. The witness stated the male cut and tore police and fire flags from the fencing and concealed them under his shirt as he walked off the bridge. He was then seen fleeing the area in the Toyota sedan, but not before a witness was able to obtain a license plate number. The vehicle was registered to an address in Mashpee, and at 4:45 p.m., Mashpee police stopped the vehicle on Thornberry Circle. The driver and sole occupant of the vehicle was identified as 27-year-old Alexander J. McGee of Mashpee. McGee matched the description given by the witness, and officers could see police and fire flags on the floor of the vehicle. McGee was taken into custody and transported to the Barnstable Police Station, where he was booked on charges of injury to a memorial, fence, flags, or trees, and larceny of property, $250 or less. All 3 stolen flags were recovered. McGee was released on $250 bail pending an appearance in court on 8/8/18. Absentee ballots? Check. Polling stations ready? Check. Town clerk Ann Quirk is checking off all the tasks before primary day on September 4th. 'Tis the season for voting. With me today, Town Clerk Ann Quirk. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Well, you know what? When you caught me in the stairwell, I always listen to what you say. And today, you have the absentee ballots are in.
They are for all of our precincts. And we would love it if people would like to come in and vote absentee because they're not going to be around on election day or for whatever reason. And we will make sure that those votes get to the precincts on election day.
Okay, so let's start with the absentee ballot. How can they get them?
They have to either come in and fill out a request and then actually vote while they're here, or they have to send us a letter requesting it, because I have to have their signature that they want to have an absentee ballot.
Okay, and they have to leave enough time. So, basically August is here, and they're going to need that timely post office time, let's call it that, to get the mail from you to them, and back.
And back, absolutely. Okay. And it's 47 cents that they have to put on there for postage in order for it to come back to me.
All right. So the best thing is if they're able, they can come here to Town Hall. We have handicap parking right out at the base of it. They can take the elevator up to the first floor, or they can come in through the big steps and come to the town clerk's office.
Absolutely. And we have to remind everyone that this is a primary, so I need to know what ballot they need.
Right.
And if they are a registered Republican, they must take a Republican ballot. If they are a registered Democrat, they must take a Democratic ballot. And if they're unenrolled, they can choose. There's also Libertarian ballot, but it's completely blank.
Okay. Oh, nobody on that ballot this year. Okay. So let's kind of reiterate here. People are always confused that you seem to be repeating yourself at the polls. Republican ballot, I'm giving you a Republican ballot. Why do you do that?
It's a state law that each of the clerks that handle the ballots, when you come in, they have to get your address and repeat it. And they have to get your name and repeat it, and then they have to give you whichever ballot you request, and they have to repeat it. It is a law that we do this, and the reason why is checks and balances. Right. Making sure, I heard you say you wanted a Republican ballot. I'm handing you a Republican ballot. And when you walk away, I am marking it on the voter list that you've taken a Republican ballot. Because at the end of the night, I have to make sure that we have the same amount of ballots that were taken that I say were taken and were used that I say were used. It's checks and balances.
Checks and balances. So there's really no instances of fraud here. We're really dotting the I's, crossing the T's. What about those absentee ballots? Do they really get counted?
Oh my gosh, they do. And I know that that's, a lot of people don't understand that, but on election day, those are hand carried over to the precincts. The warden takes the ballots and walks over to the check-in table first and gives the name and the address, which is repeated by the clerk, and pulls out the ballot to say this is the ballot, it's a Republican or Democratic ballot, and then they go over to the checkout and they do the same thing, and then they push the ballots through the voting machine.
So always a check and balance. Everything that happens with our elections have checks and balances.
Absolutely. And they have to do this repeating. I know it bothers a lot of people. If there's anyone that is there from, say perhaps Governor Baker has a group that's sitting there to observe, to make sure that people that say they're going to vote, vote. He might have people out. There's all kinds of people that could be watching and observing. They have to be able to hear us say the address, the name, and the ballot.
Well, now did you hear me? I'll be much more cognizant of them doing their job and making our elections safe.
Excellent.
Let's just talk one more time because we want everyone to vote. Precincts have changed for 1, 10, and 12. Please listen carefully. Precinct 1 now is going to be at?
The Zion Union Church, which is on 805 Addicks Lane in Hyannis. Huge, beautiful lobby, plenty of parking. It's a great location.
And ADA compliant.
And ADA compliant, which is necessary.
Right. And the combined precincts of 10 and 12, the Marston's Mills area, where should Millbillies vote this year?
We're all going over to the Seventh-day Adventist Community Center. It's a separate building from the church. There will be a police officer outside all day long on Route 28 to get people in and out without a problem. And you'll vote in that beautiful new building. I'm looking forward to it. It's one of my precincts, and I think the folks that work the precincts are looking forward to it too.
Right, and it's ADA compliant. So
Yes.
again, these changes don't happen arbitrarily in your office, Ann, do they?
No, no, no. We have to follow not only state guidelines, but we have to follow federal guidelines, which are more stringent actually than the state guidelines.
Right.
So we have to be careful that we're taking care of everyone and making all of our polling locations accessible to everyone and not disenfranchising a soul.
Right, and absentee ballots are ready to go. Get you either come into the town hall or mail them, and we'll see everybody on September 4th.
Excellent.
Thank you so much, Ann.
Thank you.
A special session of Town Council is tonight, and Town Council President Eric Steinhuber highlights the agenda items that are high priority. On the phone with me, Eric Steinhuber, President of the Town Council here at the Town of Barnstable. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you for having me.
So we've got a second meeting here, a Town Council for August 9th, and what's on the agenda that folks should know about?
Yeah, we've called this August 9th meeting as a extra meeting in August just because we could, with all the items that are on our plate, was going to become a little difficult to get through it in one August meeting, so I've called this meeting on the 9th as well. So a couple highlights for the meeting tonight. The municipal dredge program, there's going to be a presentation by the town manager. And this is something that the leadership of the council and the council's been involved in, along with the town manager, obviously, is pushing this forward because it's really important that we have and we upkeep our dredging programs all around town, because this helps flush and clean our estuaries, which will go a long way to reducing nitrogen loading in our waterways and our estuaries. So this is going to be a presentation and kind of a comprehensive overview of that program going forward. We're going to begin having annual funding allotted for this. And we're probably roughly about 8 years behind where we need to be, so we're really trying to ramp this up again to bring back and maintain healthy estuaries. So we're going to have that presentation tonight. And then we did have a joint hearing with the planning board on the docket tonight over the recreational marijuana. But we've had another variation of this come forward, which we're going to refer to it's on the agenda to be referred to the August 16th meeting. And really around this issue, to do any type of zoning or to have an all-out prohibition on any type of recreational marijuana business, whether it be medical or research or retail or cultivation, we need 9 votes of the council. So it's called a supermajority vote. So this is a process we started back in March when the leadership of the council called a special workshop together. And that began the process. So we're going over a number of months now. We've been working over this issue. There's been planning board hearings. We've had, public hearing as well at the council level. But it's given an opportunity to hear different comments, testimony from the public. We've heard from, counselors in different venues at different meetings. So some of these articles that are written up are kind of taking into account where some of the conversations led us over the last handful of months here. So we're hoping to have a fairly broad-based consensus decision on this, hopefully in August here between the meeting tonight and the meeting on the 16th, and hopefully we can come to a conclusion on this. But that's why there's been a few different variations, because you are trying to build a kind of broad coalition, to get this done in a reasonable and responsible way. So we'll see where that goes tonight. But I would expect a motion to withdraw the item that was going to be on for a joint hearing tonight, and we'll take up the other item, the new item, on the 16th. So we'll see what the council's wishes are on that. Aside from that, we have appointments to boards and commissions, and we have some reappointments. And then we have a couple of grants that have to do with public safety, highway safety, that we'll be accepting under new business, and that will wrap up this meeting tonight. And then we do have the meeting on August 16th, which we anticipate being a longer meeting, and we anticipate having another public hearing over the recreational marijuana and the proposed zoning for that. And then we'll turn the page into September. A couple items of note for the public. On September 6th, we'll be having a budget workshop within our meeting, which will really kind of get into kind of the nuts and bolts of how we begin to build a budget, and how Prop 2.5 works into that, how new growth works into that budget, meaning new development in town, so it's new property taxes or redevelopment of a blighted site, how that affects property tax dollars, and really kind of underscoring that just to maintain our services, we need $1 million and $1.5 million to new growth dollars each and every year, which is why there's been a focus on streamlining zoning and regulatory and being very welcoming for development and business, because without that, you'll see town services decline at a rapid rate. So something that's very much a priority of the council. So we're looking forward to that workshop on the 6th, and that will help inform the council's strategic workshop on the 15th. This is a meeting we have every 2 years, and it sets a strategic plan for the town, and then the manager uses that along with his staff to set the budget priorities over the next 2 years. So we got quite a bit on our plate over the next month here, but we're looking forward to digging in on it and making some good progress.
Well, that's good news. Hopefully your meeting is short this evening, and you get out there and enjoy this really hot weather.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit shorter meeting tonight, but that helps alleviate the having to be there till 1 in the morning on the 16th. So
Exactly. Well, thank you.
nobody likes to do that.
Right. We record those, so I don't think we like them either.
Right. Right.
Thanks so much for joining us, Eric.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Imagine riding your bike from Sandwich to Provincetown on a protected multi-use trail, stopping at the beach along the way. Well, Vision 88, a plan to connect all 15 towns, is becoming a reality, town by town. Stephen Tupper, Transportation Program Manager for the Cape Cod Commission, fills us in on all the details. Stephen Tupper, Transportation Program Manager at the Cape Cod Commission, and the Cape Cod Commission have a Vision 88, of connecting all 15 towns to a bike path or a multi-use path. With me, Stephen, this is exciting news. Some of it's built, some of it just got funded, and some of it's still a dream. Why don't you back us up a little bit and tell us what Vision 88 is?
Sure. Vision 88 is a vision to connect a spine of multimodal accommodation, a bike path from Woods Hole up to the Canal Path in Bourne, and then all the way out to Provincetown. And that'd really be the spine of the network, and then we'd have connections into all of the communities along the way. It's roughly 88 miles in total length, hence the name. And we've been working on the projects in little pieces, but it's the first time we've kind of come out with the Vision 88 title. We're about halfway built at this point, so it's starting to really come together as a regional vision.
Right. And that regional vision, why bike? Why that multi-use path?
I think it's always been well known that it's an important part of our economy in terms of that recreational facility, and it certainly is a big draw in a number of our communities. But we also see it as an important transportation asset. Being out there on the path, you also see a lot of folks biking to work, biking to maybe the grocery store, so we want it to really be part of the transportation network. And that's why we're looking really regionally to have it a key part of the network that builds in with the road network, links up to transit, and it's really part of the system.
Great. So let's take that vision through. We've got a bike path now that goes from Wellfleet to almost Yarmouth. We're almost there. So tell us where we are on that extension from Dennis to Yarmouth.
So certainly, heading into Barnstable, we've been marching from the east piece by piece, and we're very close right now at Bass River. So that's the project that's currently under construction. Folks have been using it. It's not quite open yet. There'll be a formal opening in the fall. But then we'll continue heading into Yarmouth. So once you get over Bass River Bridge, it gets a bit further over Station Ave into the old Townhouse Road area. And then there's another section funded a few years out that'll bring it all the way into Barnstable, all the way to Mary Dunn Road. So that'll be bringing it right into the town of Barnstable.
That's great. Our videographer specialist, Chris Letta, would love to ride his bike to work every day from
Absolutely.
Yarmouth. So let's talk about some of the things that just got funded.
So that's one section that's funded, the connection from Barnstable into Yarmouth. And they're also marching in the other direction. The town of Sandwich has been working on a shared use path along the service road, take advantage of some recent utility work that left a fairly nicely graded portion along there. So they're going to build a path there and march into Barnstable from the other side. So both of those projects are funded in year 2022. A little bit out at this point, but it'll be there before we know it.
Exactly. And when you say marching into Barnstable, really the vision here is to connect into the transportation center and really literally into Hyannis. That must be a challenge.
Absolutely. So the Vision 88 is the spine, but those connections are really what gets people to where they're trying to get to. So we want to eventually see a multi-use path down Yarmouth Road, Willow Street, get you to the Hyannis Transportation Center, down into Main Street of Hyannis, the whole business area there. That would be a great connection. There's a lot of other connections on the development. The town's working on a path on Bierce's Way as well, all these little pieces that will eventually come together into a real network.
And we talk about some of the other areas here. Some of the towns are actually building paths right to their beaches.
Absolutely, and Brewster in particular, Department of Conservation and Recreation, is in the planning phase right now. They've had a number of public meetings connecting the Cape Cod Rail Trail right up to the bay. So we know it's a challenge getting people to park down there, so this way people could just not even use the car, just take a bike or take a walk down. It's not too long, and get right onto the beach that way.
That's easy, right? Not getting there to, finding that you do get there with a car and there is no parking.
Yes.
Are our beaches have that same issue sometimes. And then the last piece of this, as we go from Sandwich out, one of my favorites is the Shining Sea bike path, but I also love the canal too. Are there plans to connect the two?
Absolutely. So those are both great resources in the towns of Falmouth and the towns of Bourne, and there is a vision to connect those. So the Commission, and originally Cape Cod Commission, did a feasibility study of making that connection. Folks have been referring to it as the Bourne Rail Trail, and the town of Bourne has been working on starting the process to get that funded, working with the state. There's certainly some design challenges to still work out there, but ultimately that would be the vision, connecting up the Shining Sea bike path up with the canal path.
So this must be one of your favorite projects.
Absolutely. So there's everyone wants to talk about traffic, but we'll get there, and then we want to talk about how to get people out of their cars and make the connections on the bike paths or the sidewalks as well.
Thank you so much, Stephen.
Happy to come in.
The One Cape Summit, August 16th and 17th at Wequassett Resort, is a springboard for ideas, collaboration, and a vision for One Cape. Just announced, Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito will be speaking at the event. Christy Senatori, Cape Cod Commission Acting Executive Director, spotlights the agenda workshops on coastal resiliency and the economy. The One Cape Summit is coming up August 16th and 17th. With me today, Christy Senatori from the Cape Cod Commission Executive Director. Christy, welcome.
Thank you, Paula.
So the One Cape Summit has been around for quite a few years, different iterations of the name. Give us a little bit of an idea of what this event really is all about.
Sure, this is our 5th annual summit that we'll be holding this year down at the Wequassett Resort in Harwich. The conference has evolved. It's taken a little bit of a turn in the content that we're providing, but we're focusing this year on water quality again, as we've done in past summits.
So when we talk water quality, there's always this, I think, divergent understanding. So it's not always just the water that comes out of your faucet. It's not always the water that's in the ocean. It's not always the water in a pond. It's all the water. So talk a little bit about some of the things that people will learn at this summit during that first day, which is mostly based on the environment and water.
That's a really important point to make, that the Cape really is surrounded by water. So the discussion around water quality in this conference really has evolved from the wastewater efforts that we've done through the 208 plan and the implementation that we're now in through that plan and looking at infrastructure across the Cape. So we'll really focus on that in the morning, and then we'll also incorporate some coastal resilience. We know that the threats from sea level rise and the storms that we've had in the past several years have really made an impact on our coastline. So bringing those water quality issues to the forefront of every conversation seems to be of utmost importance. So we really wanted to focus on that for that first day of the conference.
Right. And that first day of the conference, again, based around water, single aquifer here on Cape Cod, who are the stakeholders that really should come to this summit and get more information?
The summit's open to the general public. The people who will probably have the most input and will find the most value in the conference is the decision makers and the stakeholders. So people who are intimately involved in some of these local discussions and making the decisions around what's best for their communities are really the ones that will probably benefit most from the conference.
Or somebody like myself who's just really concerned with the environment and coastal resiliency.
Right, exactly. And we have a lot of stakeholders that follow a lot of these planning processes, and they're very interested and involved. And they have a lot of valuable information. They've lived on the Cape for a long time, and they've seen the changes.
Right, and the day is actually set up where there's different types of breakout sessions for folks. So you'll have a keynote, I'm sure?
Yes, we do. So the first day we'll actually be hearing from Secretary Matt Beaton from the state, and so he'll be providing some information on where the state is in a lot of their planning processes. And then we actually have Alexandra Dunn, who's the EPA Region 1 Administrator, will be coming and speaking in the afternoon, as well as the Lieutenant Governor.
Right.
So the first day we do have a full complement of speakers.
Excellent. And then let's talk a little bit about the second day, which is more focused on the economy and economic diversity, as well as housing. And, you know, we say housing and, you know, everybody's flag goes up and it's like, yes, we need housing. So give us a general idea of what that day might contain.
So we, in the planning, we're really looking at building resilience across the Cape, and everybody thinks of that as coastal resilience and environmental resilience, but really it's that shift to community and economic resilience too. How can we make the Cape a more vibrant place for people to live and work? So really shifting that focus to economic and community resilience is where we're going on day 2. So we will introduce our new regional policy plan that we're in the process of updating right now. So we'll be talking about that in the morning on Friday, and then shifting the focus to talking about housing. It's difficult to have the conversation about the types of housing that we need without having the conversation about infrastructure. So how can we focus additional growth and development into these centers of activity where we have appropriate and adequate infrastructure? So that's going to be a lot of the conversation on day 2.
That should be a lot of conversation.
It should be. And we have a great keynote speaker, Kennedy Smith, who will be coming and talking about vibrant downtown communities and the work she's done nationally.
Let's talk a little bit about housing for all. Just before this interview, we kind of made a statement about, downsizing. So you mentioned that there's 80% of the Cape is single-family homes. So there's really not a lot of diversification in housing.
There isn't. We have a lot of single-family homes across the Cape. And so we're missing that middle stage of housing. So the smaller units, the more diversity of units, we really are lacking. So there won't be one single solution or one single fix to the problem, but if there should be a variety of ways that we can go about meeting some of those housing needs. We do need more housing on the Cape, so how can we diversify the market?
And let's just throw out some of the names that we're calling the housing nowadays, so people are starting to become familiar. We have an affordable with a capital A, which is the 80% medium of your income. There's the 60%, which is affordable with a small a.
Yep.
And then workforce housing. Give us a general idea of when we say the term workforce housing, what does that mean?
Well, we have a seasonal workforce, but we also have a year-round workforce. And we know the median home price on the Cape is expensive, and it's only increasing, and it's not matching up with the annual wages. So how can we provide different types of housing for that workforce that we need on the Cape to maintain our vibrant economy?
So workforce housing in our communities can include, folks that are in the hospitality industry, but also, municipal employees or those who don't need that full 2-acre, 1-bedroom or 4-bedroom house type of adobe, I guess is what it is, right?
Yeah. Exactly. But they want to stay on the Cape, and we need that type of workforce on the Cape, so we need to provide the ample housing for those individuals who want to stay and live and work and raise their families on the Cape.
Right. And talk a little bit about the regional plan and the economy piece of this. So, your plan's almost done. It'll be unveiled at the summit here. What does the Commission see as some of the focus for the economy here on Cape Cod?
The conversation around growth and development has shifted in the last decade, not from whether we should grow, but where we should grow. So we're trying to focus our efforts on planning in these downtown areas, these areas of economic activity, where we can promote additional growth, we can have a diversity of housing units, we can accommodate additional density. So you can have smaller units that are more affordable to that workforce and other types of individuals who would like to stay and live and work on the Cape. So our focus has really been around these activity centers, but also shifting our focus a little bit to how can we assist the towns in local comprehensive planning processes. And how can we make it an easier, more streamlined process so that the plans that are developed and implemented at the local level are consistent with the regional plan, so that while we have 15 very diverse communities, we're consistent as one Cape, as one region. And then we're also looking at regional capital planning. As we know, it's difficult to have the conversation around housing and promoting growth and development without having the appropriate infrastructure. So tying it back to wastewater and making sure we have a resilient transportation network at the same time.
Right, and that's actually key for a lot of people here is transportation. You don't always work in your town that you live in, so having the RTA obviously up and running and full schedules for folks like that, and other ways to get around. Vision 88, we'll talk to Stephen Tupper about the bike trail from Provincetown to Bourne, which is fantastic.
Good.
So we'll do August 16th and 17th at the Quasset Resort. It's the One Cape Summit.
Yes.
And 2 full days of topics, breakout sessions. What else do you want people to know about the day?
You can register on our website, so it's onecape.capecodcommission.org, and we're interested in anyone who would like to learn more about community economic and environmental resilience should attend the conference, and we'd be happy to provide any other information to anyone who's interested.
Excellent. Thanks so much
Great.
for joining us.
Thank you, Paula.
A reminder for your calendar, a special meeting of Town Council tonight, Town Hall, second floor hearing room at 7 p.m. Comments, suggestions, accolades? Connect with us on Facebook, email us, or send us an old-fashioned note by carrier pigeon. Channel 18 works for you. I'm Paula Hersey, and thank you for watching Barnstable Today.